All right. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you. Let's stand and sing. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. And one more time. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We're glad to have you with us. Ours is a very welcoming congregation, and we appreciate your unique experiences, beliefs, and lifestyles. And if you're one of our long-term members or have been here a short time, or if you're joining us today for the very first time, we're so glad you're with us. We're also very grateful to those that are streaming with us today. We welcome you as well. This is a very special service today. It's a flower celebration. And we want to thank you for participating in this celebration. And we will share more information on how the flower celebration will go forward in a little bit. But at this time, I have a couple of announcements. First of all, I want to acknowledge Todd Milne, who has been here 8 or 9 years, not exactly sure how many, but today is Todd's last day. And he will be moving on. And so, Todd, we want to thank you very much for all you've done for this congregation. At this time, I invite Cindy Fine and Nancy Avery to come forward and talk with us about the generosity campaign.
A strong community does not happen by accident. It is built and sustained by people who care. For generations, members of this congregation have given their time, talents, and financial support to ensure that this community continues to thrive. Because of that shared commitment, we are here today, and because of our choices now, this community will be here for those who come next. This is the power of community, sustaining something larger than ourselves. Currently, our generosity campaign total is $212,609, with a goal of $300,000. 77 of our friends and members still need to make their pledge. If you have not yet made your pledge, we invite you to do so. Every gift matters, and every contribution helps carry this community forward.
Just a little tidbit, if you're just continuing your pledge, please pledge again so that we know that you plan to just continue the current pledge you have. The words that we're going to share next are so powerful that Cindy and I decided that rather than reading it as a responsive reading, we would read it instead in unison. So would you join us in reading A Place of Meeting by Eileen Karpels. Out of wood and stone, out of dreams and sacrifice, the people build a home. Out of the work of their hands and hearts and minds, the people fashion a symbol and a reality. May this house be truly a place of meeting, meeting one another in warmth and joy and openness, meeting one another in courage and love and trust. May all who enter here trust one another so surely that they dare to share the deep fires that burst into anger as much as the sweet spring waters that swell into laughter, the slow erosion of wounded tears as much as the soaring song. May these walls know silence as 100 hearts search inward for each of its own spark of hope that might otherwise be snuffed out in the noise. May these rafters hear the voice of the child as surely as that of the orator, and the sound of the lute, the clack of the typewriter, the swish of the broom, and know that all are as holy as the shout of 1,000,000 stars. May the rain fall lightly on this house, the sun shine warmly, the winds blow softly, and bless it as a place of joy and peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very powerful reading. Now, just take a few moments just to greet each other. I have no other announcements or anything right now, so just take a couple moments to greet someone. And someone you've not ever met before, say hi to them, please. We now turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally begin our service by lighting our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, and of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost and cast a healthy shadow of doubt where it's been found.
Good morning. Today's opening reflection is beautiful, and I invite all of you to read along with me. It's in your program if you would like to join me. Children of the earth and sky, we are nurtured, sustained, given warmth and light from above and below. Supported by earth's strong, firm crust, we build our homes, till the fields, plant our gardens and orchards. When we turn from self and seek to be aware, we will find holy light in human faces, in blossom, birdsong, and sky. Then earth is truly our home, and we are one with all earth's creatures, parents of the earth's children yet to be. By Alice Berry.
Let's stand and sing. And normally this is where the children would come up and sing with us for our pop-up choir. So we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine.
We will now kindle our candles of care, and each time as we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We kindle candles for all peoples involved in conflict around the world today, for those in fear of seizure and deportation in our own country, for those in Ukraine and Israel, Palestine, Iran, Syria, for the people of Darfur and South Sudan suffering from war, ethnically driven violence and displacement and starvation there. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts and minds this morning. And you're welcome to share their names aloud as you wish. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence and in our hearts today, we hold in our community of compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the wider world.
As always, Jackie, that was beautiful. I can see those flowers just popping. For the story for all ages today, I'm reading from an adaptation from the children's book, Miss Rumphius, which is down here on the table. And also in back of the book is a lupin. Once upon a time, though it wasn't so very long ago, there was a little girl named Alice who loved two things more than anything in the world: stories and the sea. Every evening she would climb up on her grandfather's knee, and he would tell her stories of faraway places, of mountains so tall they wore clouds like hats, of deserts where the stars were so many they looked like a sparkling quilt in the sky, of harbors full of ships with sails like great white wings catching the wind. Someday, Alice would whisper, her eyes shining, I will go to those faraway places too. And when I am old, I will come back and live by the sea. Her grandfather would pull her close and smile his slow, warm smile. That is all very well and good, my dear Alice, but there is one more thing. One thing you must promise to do. She looked up at him. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. And so Alice grew up. She traveled to faraway places, and they were as wondrous as her grandfather had said. But the years of travel were long, and one day Alice found that her bones were tired and her heart was full. It was time to go home to the sea, to the little house on the cliff where the waves sang to her through the window, and the salt air wrapped around her like the hug of an old friend. She had kept two of her promises, but the third one, the most important one, still waited. How do you make the world more beautiful? She turned the question over in her mind like a smooth stone. She watched the light change on the water. She waited. One autumn, almost without thinking, she walked out onto the hillside with her pockets full of lupin seeds, and she scattered them to the wind. She didn't know exactly why. It just felt right. Next winter came, the snow fell, and quiet over the hills, and then spring. I thought I'd forgotten the rest of my story. The lupins bloomed purple and pink and blue and violet. They rose up along her garden wall, swaying gently like they were listening to music only they could hear. And then, the next spring, she noticed something. The seeds had traveled. On the far hill, there were more lupins. Year after that, still more. The wind was carrying her gift further and further to places she had never even walked. Until one morning, Alice looked out from her little house by the sea, and the whole world, the hills, the roadsides, the meadows, the forgotten corners, were laughing with color. She laughed out loud. That was it. This was her something beautiful. Alice is very old now. The children in her town call her the Lupin Lady. They come and sit with her and listen to her stories the way she once listened, to her grandfather's. And before they go, she cups their faces in her weathered hands and looks at them with eyes still full of faraway places, and she tells them what she was told. There is one more thing you must do, she says. Didn't get to me before. You must do something to make the world more beautiful. You brought a flower here today, and that was your something for this morning, for this community, for each other. As you leave today, you'll find a small packet of wildflower seeds or a sapling to take home with you, a little something to carry in your pocket the way Miss Rumphius carried hers. Find a patch of earth that could use a little color. Scatter them in your garden, along a fence, in a forgotten corner of the yard. There's no Kleenex here. Sorry, I can't read my story. Because I can't see. Oh, I'm just going to use the whole thing. Change begins with one person, one seed, one small and quiet act of love. And then the wind takes it, and it travels further than you ever imagined, perhaps to places you'll never even see. And one day, someone will look out their window at a hillside full of color and feel, without knowing why, that the world is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. That was beautiful. I was tearing up. Now, if you would please find a comfortable position for our meditation. Uncross your arms and legs. Plant your feet firmly on the ground and feel free to close your eyes. As we move into a time of meditation, consider the lilies of the field. The blue banks of the Camas opening into acres of sky along the road. Would the longing to lie down and be washed by that beauty abate you if you knew their usefulness? How the natives ground their bulbs for flour. How the settlers' hogs uprooted them. Grunting in gleeful oblivion as the flowers fell. And you, what of your, I'm sorry, this is like, oh my gosh, my phone. Pardon me. That was my watch. And what of your useful and rushed life? Imagine setting it all down. Papers, plans, appointments, everything. Leaving only a note. I've gone to the fields to be lovely. Be back when I'm through blooming. Even now, unneeded and uneaten, the camas lilies gaze out above the grass from their tender blue eyes. Even in sleep, your life will shine. Make no mistake, of course, your work will always matter. Yet Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these.
green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream, they really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and birds fly over the rainbow. So why then, oh why can't I? And the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, well, I love you, and I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
Oh, thank you so much, Roche. That was just beautiful. Of course, if Nancy hadn't stolen all the Kleenex, it would be helpful for me right now, but I'll make it through. So, you got one left? Okay. Oh, thank you. 'Cause I'm going to have the same thing when I went through this myself. It was like, okay, there's some parts in here which are the same. So together today, we gather to participate in a Unitarian Universalist flower celebration. This was also called in the past or in other times a flower communion. It's a beloved tradition that has enriched Unitarian Universalist worship for over a century. Born from a desire to foster spiritual connection and community among people of diverse beliefs, this deceptively simple ritual was created in 1923 by Czechoslovakian Unitarian ministers Norbert and Maja Capek. It's easy to dismiss it as a quaint, pretty custom, but it's more than this. It's a reminder that ritual, however modest, can help sustain us as we live out our values. Norbert Čapek, born in 1870 and died in 1942, founded the Unitarian Church in Prague, Czechoslovakia in 1922. Raised Catholic in Bohemia, which is now present-day Czech Republic, as a teenager he grew disheartened by his priest's cynicism and the seeming failure of rigid Catholic dogma and authority to produce an inward, warm-hearted spirituality. Hence, at age 18, he became Baptist, and a fervent one, soon also becoming a Baptist minister. He was a powerful force, a compelling preacher and editor of several religious journals, a prolific writer and composer of hymns, founder of almost a dozen Baptist churches, and an elected leader of the Union of Baptist Churches of Moravia and Slovakia. He was also a visionary thinker. His convictions became increasingly liberal, even radical, influenced by his study of the past and his openness to the theological ferment in the present. While studying the religious history of Bohemia and Moravia, he became convinced that the true faith of the Czech people was a free faith, a spiritual practice that prized individual conscience and pursued an ardent community life rooted in love. Around 1910, he discovered the Unitarian tradition and felt certain that it reflected the inner spirit of the Czech people, but he was not able to get support for establishing a Unitarian church. So he continued to develop his thoughts as a Baptist minister, though with increasing conflict. Catholicism had been the state religion of his homeland for years, and his writings were increasingly deemed anti-Catholic and censored. In 1914, with World War I on the horizon and under threats of further reprisals from the government, he accepted a call to serve a small Baptist church in New York, followed soon after by a call to a larger Baptist church in New Jersey. However, Čapek's writings, which voiced his concern that the Baptist tradition was becoming dogmatic in its own way, led to 2 heresy trials soon after his arrival in the U.S. He was acquitted both times, but the personal sting ran deep, and in 1919 he resigned as a Baptist minister. A little over a year later, after having commissioned their 3 school children to sample the church Sunday schools in their New Jersey community, he and his wife, Maja, joined their children at the First Unitarian Church of Essex County. And then, from then on, at age 51, Čapek's spiritual vision found a home in the Unitarian tradition. After the conclusion of the First World War, Czechoslovakia became independent, and many Czechs seized the opportunity to leave the no longer state-endorsed Catholic Church. Čapek and his family were among many other Czechs who decided to return from abroad to their home. And in his case, he went intending to found a Unitarian church that might invite the Czech people to rekindle the free faith and the true Christianity that he was convinced had deep roots in their past. To say he was successful would be an understatement. While Norbert went home, Maja remained in the United States. Already during the ocean voyage back to Prague, with many Czechs among his fellow passengers, he offered talks on the true history of the Czech spirit, entwining its deep democratic spiritual inklings with support for Czechoslovakia's nascent democracy. Once in Prague, he set to building a church, not a structure, but a people. Recall those earlier references to compelling preacher and visionary thinker? After beginning with small groups of a couple dozen here and there in the fall of 1921, when he led the inaugural worship service of the Prague Congregation of Liberal Religious Fellowship in April of 1922, there were over 1,200 people in attendance. By the following year, Čapek wrote, "There were days when the large church where they rented meeting space, which comfortably holds 3,000 people, was filled to capacity, and that there were many who could not get in. And on Tuesday evenings, 700 people or more gathered to hear the sermon a second time and discuss it. Successful? And then some. Membership of over 3,200 congregants." Norbert's approach to service was deliberately austere. It was a direct rejection of the ornate traditions he and his congregants had left. He eliminated ministerial vestments, elaborate ceremonies, incense, formal prayers, and rigid rituals, replacing them with simple sermons and hymns. And while the congregation thrived on this intellectual freedom and rational inquiry, many members felt spiritually incomplete. They approached the Čapeks with a request. They needed something more. A gesture that would nourish their spiritual lives as well as binding the community together. Norbert and Maja's solution was to honor both reason and spirituality with the deceptively simple flower communion. Excuse me. He needed a ritual that was without other religious associations and accessible to everyone. He created the flower communion and first instituted it on June 24th, 1923, inviting everyone to bring a simple flower and place it in a large vase as they entered the church. Čapek preached about their community unity, their common unity and heartfelt fellowship, and regardless of race, class, or other distinctions. A unity grounded in God who loved them and all who took joy in their common flourishing. A unity grounded in the shared purpose they had experienced over the past years, fashioning a community knit together by simple friendship and shaped by divine love. He reminded them that each of the gathered flowers had unique needs to grow and flourish, as well as unique beauty and gifts to offer. That each flower had a dignity and a glory bestowed by God. Then he encouraged the congregation to come forward, each taking a different flower than the one that they'd brought. These were to be taken home, and in doing so, he asked them to imagine themselves carrying home and caring for the needs of one another, noticing and celebrating the beauty of one another, and regarding with awe the God-given glory of their fellow congregants. A simple ritual, almost cute, except when practiced against the backdrop of rebirthing the spirituality of the Czech people and amid the shared experience of fashioning a community through the practice of friendship and love. And in that context, it proved a ritual that Čapek himself described as so powerful and impressive that I never experienced anything like it. Adding that the most dry and rationalistic members were moved and many an eye brightened through tears. Yeah. For nearly 20 years, Čapek persevered in his vision, though not without some turmoil. There was friction at times with the more conservative and perhaps envious Catholic and Protestant churches, as well as occasional episodes of infighting within the congregation amid bouts of financial desperation. Still, the Unitarian Church in Prague was at one point the largest Unitarian congregation in the world. 300 or more children and youth were enrolled in the church's Sunday school. The congregation sponsored a church leadership training school and an extensive community counseling program. Courses in religious history and philosophy written by Čapek were being used in the public schools. And alongside the struggles, his conviction that liberal faith, prizing individual conscience and communal fellowship, could leaven the whole of life, and was being shown true in practice. And then the Nazis came knocking, literally. First in 1938 at the nation's border, when Hitler demanded the annexation of Czechoslovakia's southern territory, France and Great Britain, with the silent assent of U.S., decided it was a sacrifice worth making to preserve peace. Rather than answering Czechoslovakia's call for defense, they pressured the Czech government to cede the land. And when the government felt it had no choice but to accept Hitler's terms, the protests by the Czech populace were fierce, and Čapek was with the protesters. By the following year, 1939, the whole of Czechoslovakia was in German control. In March, the American Unitarian Association wrote to Čapek offering him a minister-at-large position in the U.S., with a stipend sufficient to maintain himself and his wife until he could draw a pension in 1941. His response, tendered almost immediately, remarked on his happiness at the offer of economic security, commenting wryly, "It is the first assurance since 1921 that I have an economic background for more than 1 year." After which he politely but firmly declined their offering, asserting that he could not leave his people in this moment no matter what suffering might come. Čapek now found himself ministering to a congregation, really a national community, that felt abandoned by the world but was united within itself. Shortly after the German occupation began, the 14 distinct Czechoslovakian political parties coalesced to form a single National Solidarity Party, NSP. In April 1939, the National Solidarity Party invited citizens to register as members of the new party on the basis of a single yes-no affirmation at the polls to the ballot statement, "I am a Czech," yes or no. The results were announced on May 4th, and of the 2,083,427 persons who cast a ballot, 2,079,184, 99.25%, voted yes, solidarity. Life in the congregation in Prague continued with fervor, as well as in the 6 mission centers it sponsored around the country. Unable to buck the German occupation, the people fueled their inward fellowship with all the energy they had. Maja reported that the flower communion was being celebrated both in Prague and in the missions now, a mystical embrace of dignity, beauty, freedom, in the very shadow of death. Because of the crowds that came to hear Čapek preach, Gestapo agents also attended regularly, listening for any covert messages he might be trying to pass on to his congregation. And although he did manage to slip hidden phrases of national pride into his messages, even proclaiming in one sermon, "Knowing how to live is a great thing, but the highest knowledge of living must include the knowledge of how to die, for we are God's children and heirs of immortality." There is no record that the Gestapo ever caught on to the full subversive character of his preaching. When Čapek turned 70, which was June 3rd, 1940, his congregation planned a festive celebration. More than 700 persons came, including noted guests from other churches and many organizations. More than 100 congratulatory letters and telegrams arrived, but the showstopper was a gift he received from the church's Board of Trustees, no doubt delivered apart from the public fanfare. This was a shortwave radio. As with all such radios sold in German-occupied lands, it carried a tag that warned users that listening to foreign broadcasts was a crime punishable by death. From then on, it might be said that Čapek flirted daily with death as it became his routine to listen to BBC or Voice of America broadcast each day for the next 9 months. It's not clear how widely Čapek shared the news he gleaned from these broadcasts, though it's likely they shaped the tone of his preaching. In any case, the following March, 1941, the Nazis came knocking again, literally this time on Čapek's door. There are too many details to fill them all in here. Čapek and his 28-year-old daughter Zora were arrested and charged with listening to and disseminating foreign broadcasts. Čapek himself was also charged with high treason on account of his public preaching. And after an initial trial, they were held for an entire year before the appeal was heard in April of 1942. Both were found guilty of listening to foreign broadcasts, but the court determined that Čapek's preaching did not rise to the level of treason. Zora was sentenced to 18 months. Čapek himself, on account of his age, was given a 12-month sentence, including the recommendation that he received credit for the 11 months already in jail. Zora served her sentence and survived the war. But when Čapek's sentence was received at the Gestapo headquarters in Prague, it was ignored. Ignored is actually too late. The case officer there wrote on the file, "Send this person to Dachau. His return is unwished." It seems likely that this death sentence came in retaliation for the assassination of the Nazi official overseeing the German occupation of Czechoslovakia. The Gestapo were livid, and executions of opinion leaders were rampant. On July 5th, 1942, Čapek arrived in Dachau. He remained there for a little over 3 months, put to hard labor. The only eyewitness report from Dachau, a letter written to Maja soon after the war ended, came from a Catholic priest who had been with Čapek in Dachau. He described their living conditions as brutal. There was such terrible hunger that we were driven to digging for earthworms and eating them. Then he recounted Čapek with awe and encouragement to others at all times, sharing his meager rations, bringing a great number of others to God there in the camp, a man whose countenance carried in it a higher power. Excuse me. On October 12, 1942, Norbert Čapek was put on an invalid transport and taken to another site to be murdered by poison gas. It may be apocryphal, but there is undoubtedly truth to the stories that came to say there in Dachau, Čapek celebrated his final flower communion. Inviting those many of his fellow prisoners who were drawn to him to find whatever bit of green or beauty, whatever glimpse of art or echo of life could be found in the prison yard, and to make a simple pile, no vase this time. Then to tell yet one more time about the inherent dignity of each person, the grand and glorious reach of God into the human soul, and the joy, the true freedom that is born of human community when care is genuine and love is real. And finally, to invite those gathered around him to retrieve some shabby bit from that motley pile, transfigured into priceless treasure. Today we have access to many of the undelivered letters written between Norbert and Maja while he was in Dachau, poems he wrote while imprisoned, and statements from his fellow prisoners who survived the camps. These documents reveal the depth of his faith and his unwavering belief in the power of beauty and community to nourish and to sustain us. He wrote that he found source of strength and connection to the eternal that sustained him during his imprisonment. His quiet conviction fortified not only himself, but also his fellow prisoners, who testified to his enduring spirit and ministry. They recounted how even he introduced the flower communion into the camp, and participants would gather whatever they could to find, and if it was often just dandelions and blades of grass or twigs, they celebrated their shared humanity amidst unspeakable hardships. So, in our own times of crisis and uncertainty, it is easy to view beauty as a luxury, something we can't afford when pressing issues demand our attention. The flower communion, as conceived by the Čapeks, challenges this perspective by affirming that beauty is, in fact, a necessity. When we gather together, gather flowers, create art, or simply pause to appreciate the natural beauty around us, we affirm that the world is worth saving, that life is worth celebrating, and that joy becomes a powerful act of resistance. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to do long-term, often unseen and unrecognized work. And much of the work we do in our personal growth, in our communities, and in the wider world is an investment in outcomes we will never fully witness. Think about the social justice movement we all support and the systemic changes many of us advocate for. These are not quick fixes, but long-term struggles that span generations. In our own church community, we try to build something together. Relationships, traditions, a culture of welcome and growth, knowing that future generations will inherit and transform what we create, just as we have inherited Norbert and Maja Capek's legacy. This flower celebration is practical support for the work that is asked of us. It grounds us and replenishes us when activism, caregiving, the daily maintenance of community leaves us drained. Simplicity of shared gesture in the giving and receiving of flowers refills our reserves. It tells us our sacrifices matter, even when outcomes are slow. And it connects us to those who have come before and will come after us. The ritual reminds you that you are part of something larger than yourself, something that transcends your individual lifetime. The flower you receive from someone else is a tangible reminder that your work matters because you do not do it alone. If you want, just sort of think of this flower celebration as a sort of a spiritual gas station. We stop, we refuel on beauty and mutual support and recognition, and we go back into the work with just a little bit more capacity. We go back into the world with just a little bit more capacity. It doesn't solve structural injustice, nor does it replace strategy or policy, but it does nourish the people who sustain those efforts. By renewing our sense of belonging and purpose, the ritual helps us carry forward the patient, unglamorous labor that can often change hearts, institutions, and sometimes generations. Today, as you receive a different flower than the one you brought, receive it as a gift from this community. May it nourish and sustain you. May it fill your heart with courage and your spirits with hope. May it remind you that you are not alone, that others are walking this path with you, And may it inspire you to continue the sacred work of building a more loving, just, and compassionate world. Now let us come together in celebration of the simple and beautiful ritual that we have inherited from Norbert and Maja Capek. So it is now time for our celebration. As we begin, Nancy will explain the process, but before I have her come up to do that, we will always begin with the consecration of the flowers, and this is Dr. Čapek's words. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationships, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Nancy?
Well, for first service, this is going to be quite simple. Those of you that are seated over here, if you want to just come up on this aisle, and these two sections will come up the side aisle over here, and then just return to your seat through the center aisle. Jackie, I'm going to bring you a flower if that's okay. Okay. Whether you brought a flower or not, all are welcome at this table.
Right? Singing together? If anybody would like to come and sing with me, you're more than welcome. Okay, 63, spring has now unwrapped the flowers.
Winter time and frost time, seedlings working through
As we close today, I want to share the words from John Denver's Rhymes and Reasons. We believe it is here we must begin to seek the wisdom of children and the graceful way of flowers in the wind. For the children and the flowers are my sisters and my brothers. Their laughter and their loveliness could clear a cloudy day. Like music of the mountains and the colors of the rainbow, they are a promise of the future and a blessing for today, and the song that I am singing is a prayer to non-believers. Come and stand beside us. We can find a better way. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
You missed your calling, man.